During my recent visit to Nigeria, I met with Yemi Faseun, the head of human resources at FBNQuest. Yemi is a leading voice on HR thought leadership in Nigeria, with several awards and recognition to his name. We sat down to discuss on issues ranging from business leadership to global trends, the development of Nigeria, and most importantly, how organizations can build an enjoyable employee experience.
I was talking about the current industrial revolution. It is powered by technology. Before now, people say that the world has become a global village. It's one global workspace right now. Look at the way Canada is taking our people in Nigeria as an example. And you have seen organizations saying, okay, you want to go to Canada, but you can continue working with us. That's happening.
Great.
Absolutely. So if we can collapse the distance of 10,000 kilometers and still have employees working for us because of what technology can allow us to do. Lagos is how many kilometers from the farthest to the nearest? You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just that more and more organizations need to grapple with or leverage on the opportunities that exist with technology and make work-life integration better for employees. In our days, for instance, if you tell somebody that I'll give you a job for 50,000 naira plus car, it was big deal. The car was big deal. If you speak with the current generation and you say for 50,000 naira plus data for life,
that's more valuable than having a car.
Absolutely. Your connectivity is 24 hours a day,
Yeah.
and you're never going to run out of data. They'll be like, what? So I was saying that Maslow's hierarchy has been disrupted.
That's right.
It used to be food, shelter, and clothing. Now it's data, connectivity, and power bank. That's the way it is, because that's what the reality on ground suggests. So as long as we are now managing people by deliverables, to come back to employee experience.
Yes.
We are now integrating work with life. Then we can say to a new mother, you can stay at home for 6 or 7 months until your child is really ready to let go of you and you can come to work. However, while you're at home, you still have deliverables. We've almost bought that employee's loyalty, if not for life, but for a longer time. And it becomes a competitive advantage for organizations. So many organizations are even thinking about cost. I don't need to have 100 people scoring for spaces. Look at the space where I am now.
Yeah.
The power has been on all day. My AC has been on all day. I probably have a free that is part as well. If I do 3 days a week at work and 2 days at home, is there a saving to cost? Absolutely.
That's right.
That means we don't have to power this room.
True.
And many other rooms. And how do I manage the guys? Even when we're out there in my office, they're not with me 24 hours. We still have some spaces between us, but what is collapsing that space is what? It's technology. And the technology is getting more and more advanced to the point where that space is getting smaller and smaller. So we wouldn't have a choice. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
People will ask for it. It will become a competitive advantage. Organizations will only need to find ways to make it work for them. At the end of the day, we will need to find a way to make sure that work is from anywhere and not in a physical location. We have so many of our young ones who are a bit in a hurry to start being seen as experts and professionals. The allure of social media is so strong that everybody wants to be out there 2, 3 years, 4 years, and they're calling themselves HR experts. And that's because they hear Tomini speak every weekend. They hear Wale Adediro, the CIPM president, speak. They hear Kumbi speak, and they're thinking, it's English these guys are speaking. I can read off all these things they are saying as well. The younger ones are blogging as talent management experts and all that. And there is a lack of depth in their experience and the conversations. So for everyone that I meet and in every conversation, I do admonish them that they should beat their time. You cannot be authentic unless you become credible. And credibility takes a process. You can't circumvent that process and just go from A to B to X. It's not going to happen. And I give myself as an example. I was in quiet places, deepening skills for almost 19 years before I started speaking engagements. And I didn't even plan to start speaking, right? It was just one and then another and then another. By the end of this year, I will have done about 45. But it's not because I'm gaining anything out of it beyond impact and significance. But I see that most of the young ones are not deepening skills enough. And it shows in the quality of the output in their workplaces. So what I will say is that maybe more senior people like myself should use various platforms to continue to encourage the young ones to take their time. It's like a tree.
That's right.
You first go deep, and then you go wide. You can't bear fruits until you've taken roots. So they need to go through that process of being credible as authentic HR leaders before they can be seen out there. Don't be in a hurry to look for an audience. When the time is right, the audience will look for you to come and do stuff. But when I see younger people who say they are this, they are that, and we have conversations or we have interviews with them, and we don't see the solid stuff, it's a bit concerning. But we will continue in every conversation to see how we can bridge those gaps and then encourage them also to take their time, go through a process, and then they will become authentic. It is from the point of view of passing on knowledge and information and experience to other people that the social media influence and following started happening. It was not conscious. I woke up one day, literally, and I checked my LinkedIn profile and I realized that I was over 20,000 in terms of followers. Today, I think it's about 36,000 plus.
Yes.
I did not plan for it. I did not work for it. And I'm being very, very honest with you. So many people ask me this question, how do you get here? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just doing my thing. Again, success is, and I don't consider myself as being successful here, it's a journey. But it's an incremental, it's a daily incremental addition to who you were yesterday. I think once you do what you're doing, and people realize that they're getting some sort of value from the things you say, from the things you do, followership will probably be given and automatic. And that's again where I'm admonishing younger people, don't look for followers. Look for the deep stuff, for the real stuff. Once you have it, people want to learn from you. They will look for you where you are. We need to constantly, in the cycle, engage the stakeholders. The stakeholders are the employees, the stakeholders are leadership, the stakeholders are possibly suppliers. Anybody who needs to be engaged within the process, there must be continuous engagement of all the stakeholders involved in the process. And the third thing is a review. We need to constantly review along the different phases, what's working, what's not working. Let's not be slaves to processes. Oh, this design thinking thing, we just do focus group session. No. Step back, review what's working, what's not working. And then the last thing is a constant reality check with what the market itself is saying. For instance, do I need to change the status car that I give out to my employees at, for instance, manager grade? Oh, my limit right now is 5 million naira, but it's not enough to attract people into my organization. But I'm not going to take a decision to change it from 5 to 15 or to 20 without first checking what the market is doing. So I look at my own subsector and say, okay, I miss other investment banks, for instance, what are they doing from a status car perspective? And if we can afford it, right, given the averages in terms of what the initiatives are out there, yeah, we will make those proposals, but we are not living without a context. Our context is either our subsector or the industry where we work. So there must be a constant check between what we want to do and what our peers are doing. So it's leadership, it's constant review, it's stakeholder engagement, and the last one is constantly checking the reality of the market.
Before we go, I want to take you on the discussion we have been earlier on HR not being for nice people. I know you already spoke to me about it, but can you throw more context to that?
Yeah.
Why is HR not for nice people?
Okay, so anyone who comes into my office, it's right there on my whiteboard. HR is not for nice people, but you can see that I've got nice people in inverted commas, and that's because the job of HR is not to say yes to everybody. The job of HR is not to make everybody happy. Otherwise, we should just make appearance every December 25, 26 when we become clowns. If you want to make everybody happy, don't come to HR. Go be a clown, because that's not your job. But must you be fair to everybody in all your dealings by all means? So what I mean is this: employees do not want the salary you are giving them. They want different salaries. Are you going to say yes to them every time? Not likely. Are they going to see you as not being nice? Yes, they will see you as not being nice. But are you going to remain professional? Yes, you will. So your primary calling in this business is not to be a nice person. Again, nice in inverted commas, saying yes to all the demands of employees. Your primary calling is to be professional. Be approachable, be warm, listen to people. But there's some things that we will be able to do. I mean, I took you through the co-creation process. We will listen. You will come with 48 things. Based on affordability and workability and logistics, we will do 15. We will not say yes to everything. So the blend of the job of HR is therefore to be a business partner. You wear that hat. You must be an employee champion. So you must listen and see the ways that you make things a lot more better. Give the employees, work with line managers to give employees pleasurable work experience, right? Our job is also to be admin experts. Somebody walks in and says, I want this, and I say, oh yes, you can have it. I still need to go through a process.
That's right.
You see what I mean? So we need to have all those in perspective when we say we are in the human resources function. Our job is first and foremost, yes, to be human. I agree. But we can't lose sight of the fact that we're not here to make everybody happy. Don't forget, the organization is not making money and people are asking for this. How do you balance both? So you are in the middle somewhere, thinking for the business, thinking for employees, and then you're thinking, how is this going to happen? At the end of the day, HR is also a change agent. And you know what we say about change? Not everybody likes change.
Yes.
Not everybody will be on board with you. There'll be some people are going to be switched on immediately. Others will tag along eventually. Some others will never get there because it's not working for them. So the job of HR in all of that is what's going to happen to make sure that the impact of this change or these changes in the organization is positive for the employees, right? But is it going to be positive for all employees at all times? Not likely. If you want to do things and you want people to be on board, you're not going to have 100% acceptance of that initiative. I promise you. Not every time.
Sure.
But the negative impact of change or changes in the organization will be minimized if you take the design thinking approach, because you've co-created a solution with them, and therefore you are just selling back to them what they worked on. So the impact of negativity will be reduced. Training. Everybody wants to go to Harvard for training. Basic communication skills. Yemi, I want to go and do it in Harvard. Am I going to say yes to that? I'll say no, because I can do it at LBS, I can do it at Workforce Group, I can do it at XYZ locally, or you can even do it online without going anywhere, given where technology is today. And the guy says, the reason I didn't go to Harvard last year is because of Yemi. That guy is not nice. So that's the context in which I say HR is not for nice people.